Well, here we have several longtime seers, and I wanted to record this Zoom meeting because many of you have been seeing for years and years, and I think there's something really special about that. There's something very, very deep, and I'm personally curious to hear about how this has unfolded in your life. And it's an honor to be with you all. I'm going to start out with an introduction. My name is Christine, and I'm in Hawaii. And I've been involved in the Headless Way for approximately 10 years, give or take. And it's been a real blessing in my life. So I'm going to pass to Judy, and perhaps you can introduce yourself and just share a little bit about how you came to this or how long you've been involved.
Okay, Christine. Hello to everybody. Nice to see everyone again. I'm Judy and I live in South Wales in the UK, in Swansea. And I have been involved with the Headless Way since 1968, which I've just quickly added up or subtracted, and I make that 66 years, which is amazingly long time, it seems. But I'm sure we'd all say that it's not the length of time that makes a difference. It's the kind of perseverance and dedication that makes it special in one's life. And it's made a huge, absolutely huge difference in my life. So I will pass to Lorraine.
Hello. So my name is Lorraine. I am French. I live in Paris, and I met Headless Way when I was 19 years old. So 30 years ago, and it really changed my life. It was very, very, very important to me. Now I share it in France with friends. So I'm very happy to be here, and I pass the to Karin.
Thank you. Karin from Holland, and yeah, I found it, I think a little before you, Christine, a few years maybe before you found it. And for me, it meant the end of a decade-long search involving teachers, practices, and God knows what, and tons of dedication. And but still, the final answer hadn't come, and I did the experiments of Douglas, and boof, especially the tube. There was this total amazement of what's here at the core, and so I explored it initially carefully. I didn't want to get involved in something that, you know, would be passing again. But gradually I thought, well, this is it. This is really the answer. And now I also enjoy sharing it with other friends and new people. Yeah, which is marvelous. Thank you. Carol, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. I'm Carol. I live in Suffolk in England, and I first met Douglas in 1967. So I think just before Judy or around the same time. And I had no prior interest in anything like this before. I came to it completely cold. But it just blew me away initially. But over the years, it's deepened and deepened. And what I value most about it is it's always, always accessible. Always here. Thank you. And now, Katerina.
Hello, hello. My name is Catharina, and I live in the Netherlands, but also half a year in France. So both both countries. I met Douglas in '72 when I was involved in studying Advaita Vedanta. And in '72, Douglas came in the place where also the Advaita Vedanta was, and he did a workshop, and that was really very, very wonderful. And since then, I always did experiments and shared with friends, and was with Douglas also, and really, really wonderful.
Good. Thank you all for bringing us more understanding about where we are all coming from. And I'm wondering if we can perhaps do an experiment. Not sure if someone wants to lead one, so we can just bring us all. Okay, Judy, wonderful.
Well, I didn't say what the significant event was when I met Douglas, but I had been quite by chance, really, studying Zen in a monastery. And when I met Douglas, I told him about this, and he listened very carefully. And then we were talking, and he asked me, quite out of the blue, I thought, "What are you looking out of?" And I was quite stunned by that, because I thought, is he gone a bit strange? So I said, "My eyes, of course." And he said, "What nonsense." And because of that, I just stared at him and looked at him, and instantly saw that I'm not looking out of anything here. It's just the view. So that really is the simplest experiment you could have, isn't it? And we had many other very simple experiments, like Carol's husband, Colin. I remember saying, well, to people who were puzzled, well, just look for the bridge of your nose. And I mean, you see nothing, just as I saw nothing. I wasn't looking out of anything. So those are some of the very simple experiments.
Mm-hmm. And
well, for me, may I share how I got it after hours and hours of talk and resistance and not getting it and overthinking it. My husband said to me, "Imagine a beam going out from your eye, out of the window as it happened. Turn it round. That beam is now coming right at you. What is here? What is it coming at?" And I said, "Nothing." And he said, "Well, that's it." I said, "It can't be. It's impossible. That's far too simple." "It is," he said.
Yeah, I said that too. That's too simple. Can't be. It's got to be more complicated than that. So I invented complications. Yeah.
yes. So I'm just wondering how seeing in the Headless Way has affected your relationships or made a difference in your life. And maybe I'll pass to Karen. Do you prefer Karen or Karen?
Doesn't matter. All is
Okay.
fine.
Okay. So, how would you say that seeing in this headless way on this path or no path. It's so paradoxical because words can't describe the indescribable mystery of it. But how would you say it's affected your relationships or made a difference in your life?
Well, I was just thinking, listening to Judy and Carol, and my seeing. I did the finger pointing experiment. I think Douglas' most famous one, and to my surprise, I found something completely different here. And then I did a tube, and indeed I saw this nothing. And I realized, of course, that I'd always thought that here was a person. Here was me, you know, with all my problems and desires and disappointments in life and seeking and all the investment that I made in that and all of it. So I was a very complicated person, I would say, that I've fantasized here after all this time. And seeing that she wasn't there. She was absent. She was not there. And of course, first it's astounding, and then gradually the relief comes of being freed of this person. And yeah, I think that, and that being freed of her, of Karin, paradoxical, also started to relax her, you know. So I think gradually, yeah, my life changed a lot, because not that I felt myself change, there's nothing here to change. But I think Douglas said it's ask your friends if they experience something else. And I think so my relationships became, there was much more space for the moment, for interest in somebody else, because this woman wasn't in the way. And then luckily also well, 5-6 years later, I think, I fell in love with another headless guy. And so I've been fortunate to have the headless vision right in the home. And there isn't a day gone by when we are not talking about this, you know, talking about all our life experiences, seen from this headless view. And yeah, how marvelous it is to see that I actually am the other persons. I am all the other persons. I am the world. And you can't exclude anything of it, no matter how much you would like it. You know, something painful not to be there. But it's always to accept everything. Well, you know, taking such a new view on board changes everything gradually over time. That's my experience. So I don't know. Maybe somebody else wants to say something about this. I think it's a wonderful question, Christy.
Well, yes, I think for me, listening has been greatly better listening, certainly when you're out of the way, to other people, more spontaneity in relationships. This is not to say that one doesn't sometimes, often maybe, fall back on old defensive habits because, you know, they've been there for yonks. But what I found is that it becomes immediately obvious and you realize what's going on. So that if you become defensive in an argument or in a relationship, it can, when you're aware of it, then you can remedy it so that relationships become more authentic and more honest. And the other thing is, it's very hard to describe, but because you're sort of in the now, you just do what needs to be done when it arises, instead of getting in the way with the little person thinking, I know best. So I guess that's probably the difference for me.
Yes, that's probably for me also the most remarkable thing that I realized, that life is living itself, and things come and go, and many things I'm related in, and also have my own personal flaws in it. that's normal, because I come with a lot of flaws, but at the same time it's always there. And well, what Carol said also, it's living itself, and what has to be done, it's done. And that's not that it's flawless, not at all, but there's less interference. But the flaws I had as a person, I have as a person.
And who says it's a flaw?
Well, what you can think of as a flaw. Yeah. You don't become a perfect person. That's what I want to say. Because the person doesn't change. Just the relationship with the person changes. It's just the person. Like I see all your portraits here. Mine is just one of the portraits, and my person is just one of the persons around me.
I think that there is two parts in the headless experiment. The first one is the void dimension. You see that here, where you thought there was a head, there is nothing. So it's you stop living from this idea of you. Before seeing that, you when you are in relationship with someone, you have an idea of what you are, and from the truth, living from the headless way is living without this representation. And I think that the first thing is when you are not selfish, when you are shy, it goes absolutely out. It's finished. It's a good medic for that. And the second part of this experiment is the non-duality experiment. Then you see that what you are is not on where you thought there was a head, but it's everywhere. So you can taste that you are the world, you are the others, and it changed really the relation from the little one, because of course, it doesn't change the mechanism of psychological mechanism. They are still there, but you can see that it's only mechanism, and it's not like before. It's you live from the void, and you are the world. That's the experiment.
And yet I wouldn't like to give, for myself, certainly give the impression that everything was sorted out. And Katerina was sort of alluding to that, because I did think that Buddhist or Zen enlightenment would make me this perfect person, you know, the person I would like to be. And so it took quite a long time for me to realize that, yeah, that perfection, as you said, doesn't lie in that mirror image at all. Perfection lies in our true nature, and which has no characteristics, so it can't be perfect, or, well, it can't be flawed or good, or, you know, any of those things. But as we're saying, the human being, I know that this human being that I see in the picture now has changed a lot, but it took a long time to get through those psychological problems of, in my case, I don't know about other people, but in my case, not feeling that I knew how to be a successful human being who related to people in a way that was both comfortable and fruitful. I was very well aware that that just wasn't true. And this helped in the spontaneity and the truthfulness, and being accepted by seeing people, and therefore accepting myself as Judy, and accepting the difference. I was not really brought up to accept difference. There was a certain way that people were supposed to be, and if you weren't like that, then you ought to change, or don't hang around. But the Headless Way has this wonderful sense of, yeah, people are all different, and that's part of the variety of life, and that's wonderful. So that was one thing that was important for me. And I expect other people found that.
Well, that actually is a perfect segue into the next question, because there are certain people who kind of emphasize the emptiness here, that there's no thoughts, no feelings, there's no thing in this, where my hands are here and I see them and I watch them and they grow. My fingers are in size. They're like from floor to ceiling, and they disappear once they come past, and they enter into this void, this mystery, this spaciousness, this capacity. And as they disappear into this, there are some who describe this as emptiness. And I understand that, because that's also what I see happening. So I can't deny that there's this emptiness here. But my question is, how does love and compassion come into things if there's this emptiness here? Then I would love to hear from you, and it doesn't have to go in any order. Whoever feels inspired to share something about how love or compassion or the heart opening comes into this relationship with this.
Well, it's a paradox, isn't it? Yes, you see that there is pure nothingness here, but immediately it's full. It's full of the world. It's full of other people. There's nothing, there is no barrier to keep you from others. So that, to me, this is the source of true compassion. You can't keep it off. You can't keep it out. And I really found, that love and compassion just comes from it certainly in certain situations, more than in others, maybe. Certainly, in my past work where I worked as a counsellor, it was people in distress who immediately evoked this compassion and I think ability to have an appropriate response, not a response from the little person, but a response from seeing that I was absent and I was just present for that person. I think that's what it meant to me.
I think that Headless Way is in a certain way is a tantric way, because in my experiments, when I see the void, the head that I thought was here just disappeared, and there is an energetic movement from here to something more in the body. And I can say that for me, compassion is something energetic. And when you live without head, when you live directly from the life, with no boundary, no limits between you and the life, you enter in this energy, and you can see that life is really love, but it's an experiment. It's not something that makes you better, or maybe it changed the little one, maybe it can change Lorraine, but I don't know. It's more energetic experiment for me. And yes, I think it's to live, not to get away from the feelings, not to be afraid of emotion, and it's something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's also my experience that there's no distance between me and what is happening. So completely involved in what's happening.
I had a sort like experience as Carol. I worked with young kids that were very traumatized and very difficult, aggressive, and disappointed in everything basically. And we never sat opposite each other. I always went to sit beside them, as close as they would allow. And so we were looking out of the same space. We were seeing the same thing. And of course, the kid wasn't aware of it, but I was. And I found it made a massive influence on my relationship with these kids. I never had trouble with them, never, even though they freaked out, an hour later. But the space itself accepts everything, and everything. And when I rest in that space, I also accept everything. And also when I don't accept something, I see it arising, and I see that too as being part of everything. And So it makes such a difference to know that it's not me as a person who has to accept everything or love everything, but it's actually who I truly am, who does it in the first place, whether I like it or not. And the more I adhere to that and trust it and surrender to that, yeah, everything improves.
I think I'm going to go to the next question because it's kind of a long one. The next question, I'll just read it. So apologies if this sounds a bit stilted. Douglas Harding was raised in the exclusive Plymouth Brethren until he made a clean break from that sect and went on his journey of self-discovery. To this day, the women of the Plymouth Brethren are forbidden from speaking in the church and must remain silent. In addition, Plymouth Brethren women must not usurp authority over the men, and they need to wear a veil or head covering while praying. Interestingly, it says, and this is, I Googled this a few days ago, on their website, it says, the head of the woman is the man, which I thought was really interesting because Douglas Harding calls this the Headless Way. And while women have made significant gains in our society as a whole, our world, as we all know, it's far from egalitarian. We all live this and know it. What are your thoughts on headlessness for you as a woman?
For me, it doesn't make any difference to be a man or a woman. And especially in the headlessness, I don't feel like a woman at all or like a man or whatever. It's just the purity where this body and all the other bodies are coming in life.
Yeah, well, I'd echo that as well. I've never really particularly identified as a woman. I'm gay, and there haven't been very many men in my life. Actually, the men that there have been in my life, Douglas was particularly influential, but other men too in the seeing sort of fraternity. Now that we've come up with the pronouns, though, it's quite funny because the people identifying themselves with their pronouns, how they wish to be called. I definitely think my pronoun is she, which quite surprised me really, because I would have thought it could have been any of them, but no. She seems to be right. So, but I don't feel womanly particularly. I don't have any children, and I think that's one of the, hallmarks really of being a woman. The gender thing is really interesting because young people who are not in the seeing world, not in the Headless Way, are talking now of being non-gendered rather than identifying as one thing or the other. And I see that as a really positive step forward in terms of the whole of society. If we give up this fixation on having to be one thing or the other, and allow for fluidity, and it seems to me that that's the non-gendered real being of us being expressed in the language of the whole of society, not just people who are in the Headless Way.
When you go to workshop different kind of spirituality, you can see that there is some way that are more feminine and some way that are more interested, where men are more interested. For example, if you go to Zazen, there is a lot of men. If you go to something with a psychological way, there is more women. So I think that in psychology there is a difference. And in fact, when I met Douglas, I was with my husband José, who share a lot Headless Way, and I can see a difference between because it's we always understand it with the personality. There is not one way to speak about it. There is a lot of maniers to speak about it. A lot of difference. You can say opposite things to this, and I think that maybe a woman. Sorry, maybe women are more interested in body sensation. For me, I was more interested in body sensation, in emotion than my husband. Was very intellectual, and for him, what was important was the void. It was really the void. When he discovered that, it was the void, and he decided to fed up everything, stop his job and everything. I was not at all like that. So I for me, it's more to taste the world. I don't know if you understand, but I don't know if it's woman, man, but I can see that it was the difference.
Yes, there are differences, but I don't see actually that it's men and women different. For me, I'm more men-like, like being intellectual, you know, and just I also feel female-like, but yeah. You can have both, or you can have one of the two. And I know men who are much more like what we think about females are, and reverse.
Yes, of course, and we are not men and women from here. Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting question because I'm also an editor of a magazine, and I had this question as well as a research question, and asked many women spiritual teachers, like, what do you think is the difference for experiencing non-duality as a woman than maybe as a man? And why do you think as well that there are so many men speaking out and the women are in the minority often? And I think I came to my own conclusion. It's a very general thing, but from this space, this emptiness, I see here body coming out, and everybody sees a body coming out, whatever that body is. Well, in my case, it's a female body, and with having a female body comes a certain body chemistry, a body rhythm, like the monthly period, like the ability to give birth to children, and that are different from the chemistry of a male body. And since I experience life with the tool of this female body, and it has this female touch on it, which is as fluid as you say, Judy, because of course in psychology we're all male and female and so on, so this is super general. But I did notice that again, very general, that in my life it makes a big difference that I experience the world through this female setup, and that's all. That's all. Yeah, it's again this massive paradox, like no gender here, and gender-colored world, and let's say gender is not two, but is many, many things like on the spectrum. Yeah, that is the life experience.
I think for me, I've really identified with being a woman, and particularly growing up and in my teens and early 20s, seeing myself as others saw me. That was very strong with me, and it was important to be feminine, and those sort of things. And seeing has certainly affected that. It certainly changed that viewpoint, and seeing that there's no person here, paradoxically, has affected the fact that I don't now see myself as others see me as a woman. It's just out there in the world, you know. It's one of all these lovely faces in front of me, and it's not stuck here, which is good.
Yeah.
It's especially good as it changes and becomes, you know,
Wrinkly.
exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing these earrings that have a mask face. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but they are little masks on my earrings. And the fun thing about these, there's this place in Canada, there's the Spirit Walk, where these masks are on different trees in British Columbia. But if I forgot which earrings I had put on, I might not remember that I've got the appearance of having three faces. I've got a face here in my right ear, I've got a face here on my left ear, and I have a face here for other people. But when I look 180 from another person's eyes toward my no face, there's nothing here. It's just busted wide open. And and to live from that, like all of you have done for decades, is just to allow it to deepen and to land and become embodied. And it's such a gift to be on this call with all of you. It's like putting myself near these burning logs that are just, you know, roaring in the fireplace and just warm and interestingly, like, they're not there. You know, you're all women, and you're all nothing at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so are all women. And I don't want to give the impression that this has been on the front burner in my life all these 66 years, because it definitely hasn't. And I have, you know, I have spent many months probably not really having seeing on the front burner. In other words, consciously aware. But the point is, I mean, this is a saving grace, isn't it? That once having seen who you truly are, you can't ever tell yourself, well, I forgot it and therefore it wasn't there. This is how it is, whether one is thinking about it or not. And I think that is this is part of what people were saying at the beginning, how life lives itself. It's because of that we are relieved of the stress and strain of trying to achieve something or be good at something or be improved at something, some practice or other. And I mean, what a tremendous relief that is, because it changes, for me, it changed my way of thinking completely. Even though, of course, I spend a lot of time thinking like a person does. I'm not disembodied. At one time, I felt that it would be wonderful to be in this high state which felt like disembodiment, totally relieved of any self-consciousness or any concern about the impression I was making or my personality. But I know I don't see it like that anymore. I see it more as the source that belongs to everybody having a human experience. In that quote, that comes from, might be Gurdjieff, it might be Tayad Chada, about how we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual being having a human experience. And that's how I think of it. And the way in which it's expressed in me and all of you, which is all, totally different. And the way that that changes through life is unique to each one. I find myself, much to my surprise, as you all know, having taken on work for doing whatever I can about the climate. The things that are going to happen, changes that are going to happen to all of us in the world. And that was really quite an extraordinary thing for me. I never would have imagined that would happen. But it just seemed to be the right thing at the time. And the right thing for this person to be doing. And I think probably all of us feel that that's how our lives have panned out. The most surprising things have happened and we've gone along with them, and it's been right.
Yeah.
And what a blessing that it's not Headless is not something you have to practice and do your best at, and something you have to create or make. But on the contrary, it's just seeing that it's always so. It's always here, and it's undone from everything, and I can shed everything and be this totally ordinary, natural, whatever I am, and that's it, and that's marvelous to become the most natural, ordinary, normal human being.
Yeah.
How wonderful. Yeah.
And Judy said, it's not always on the front burner. In fact, it's quite often on the back burner or on underneath, or a drone of like an instrument underneath. But the minute you start talking about seeing like this, wow, it's on the front burner immediately, which is great, because it kind of recharges itself like a battery.
Yeah.
I find.
Yes, I people think that it's that they will be enlightened, but it's not like that. It's a world that points in this direction. It's not someone. It's the ordinary screen that points in this direction. It's not me. It's the world.
Yes, we're empty for filling. And if there's a person being enlightened, that's not the enlightenment. Like you said. There's a little poem I'd like to read from Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver died of cancer. And in this audiobook I've been listening to, it said that Mary Oliver was not afraid of death. She was more afraid of not paying attention. And the friend who was with her in her final months said that Mary often wondered when her last apple would be because she wanted to savor that apple. And when would be her last cup of coffee because she wanted to pay attention. And her poetry was about reverence and paying attention and tasting the things of life. And here's a little few lines taken from her poem, When Death Comes. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. And to me, when she says a bride married to amazement and the bridegroom taking the world into my arms is so headless. It's just the essence of what Headless Way is. And so I just thought I'd add that last part that we're really both and neither and no gender and all genders and empty for filling, as I said. So if there are any final words that people want to say before we close out our little recorded Zoom, I'm happy to have anyone share.
Well, just thank you, Christine, and thank you for that beautiful poem. I know of Mary Oliver, and yeah, it sounds like seeing to me. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tremendous joy for me as well to listen to all of you and, you know, to hear your wisdom and get inspired by it and by your particular takes on things. And it's so unique. You're all so unique. And yet we share this deepest possible nothing here, the essence of our lives, which is so beautiful and so intimate.
Yeah, we've been describing how we experience being here in ways that are identical. You know, our identity is identical, all of us, and yet, as you just said, Karen, each person becomes more unique, become more especially themselves. So there's something magical about this way of thinking because it always ends up with, or in thinking and interpreting the world, it always ends up with having the best of both worlds. You know, the identity and the absolute specialness of each person, the all the paradoxes of having something which Douglas used to say this, didn't he? He used to say, you know, it seems to be very dull and grey, and yet it's full of the most incredible surprises and adventures. So yeah, we whereas in my experience, my small human world, when I'm just being my human self, and it's narrow and limited, and this is vast and unlimited. And I think we're talking about women, you know, this is your thing, Christine, isn't it? The part women play, and whether they're playing up to their full strength, I think is a lot of what you're saying. And I think maybe we're not, and this would be everybody. There's tremendous power in this. There's huge humility in being no thing, but there's also tremendous power in what we could give out to the world. And we probably, well, I certainly could remember that and act it out more. We've got nothing to lose, have we? We've got nothing.
I think you're pretty amazing, Judy. You're pretty amazing.
Well, you all are.
Well, you're the planet. You're the planet saving itself. You are planet Earth. You're Mother Earth, speaking for Mother Earth.
I'm just doing a small little bit. What is so incredible is that if we all did our small little bit, you know, ordinary people like us, we could change so many things that are far from perfect in the world.
Yes.
And we already do all we can.
Yeah.
All of us. Everyone in the world does what he can.
That's true. That's true. We do what we can.
Mm-hmm.
We do what we can. We're not in the business of beating each other or ourselves up, are we? That's it's got to be natural.
Mm-hmm.
But the power is here. The power is here.
Yeah, back to the old paradox. As always, constantly coming back to paradox and being comfortable with that. That's the headless way, being comfortable with the paradoxes that are nonstop.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. Just sending my heartfelt blessings and gratitude, and just super, super happy to be with all of you.